This is Up for Debate, episode number 276, recorded May 30th, 2024. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Up for Debate, the debate podcast where the two hosts agree on everything. I'm Sean Jennings, joined as always by a man who lives life chapter to chapter. It's my good buddy, Matt. Hello, Matt. How are we doing this evening?
One page at a time. How are we
doing?
One
page at a time.
Sean?
I'm doing great. I want to say hi to you. I also want to say hi, Matt. You know, we worked hard over the last couple months setting up our Twitch channel. Well, the good news is, Matt, we're live on it right now.
What?
What?
We're live right now.
We're live. Yes, you can do things on Twitch that don't involve streaming games.
Today's world, today's technology.
High tech stuff.
Maybe
cool.
we're all just on Twitch all the time. You ever think of that?
Oh my God.
We're just like...
My mind is blown.
Maybe this entire world is just a simulation for Twitch.
Maybe we'll find out by the end of the episode tonight. Who knows?
That's
but
why
thanks everybody who is joining and watching. We will not be playing video games this evening, but do not fret. We do still have Chrono Trigger on the back burner, and Dream Daddy as well, also on the back burner. So we will finish those. But it is past Memorial Day. We're officially in the summer season, and Matt, that brings one of our great summer traditions to the show. That's right, the Up for Debate Summer Book Club. Are you as excited as I am?
I'm always excited for book club, Sean. I think we've read some pretty solid titles on this here podcast, and when people said there's no way you could do a book talk on a podcast and have people listen, and we said no, that's you're probably right about that, but we defied all odds, and here we are on this show doing a talk about books once again.
I mean, listen, book fever has gripped the nation, and we're here to offer the antidote. For those who haven't done this with us before, Matt and I each bring a series of books to the show that we talk about, do a little preview of, and then I pick a Matt book, and Matt picks a Sean book, and we read those. And then later on in the summer, we do an episode where we review them. Matt, do you remember our books last summer? We had a great summer last summer.
We did have a great summer. I'm trying to think of the books that
I believe we read.
Yeah.
In the Heart of the Sea.
That's right.
Which was wonderful.
It was.
We read the Blockbuster book.
Yeah. Too Big to Fail. Too Big to Fail? No, that was not.
Something
that was. It was not. It's
not. You think of the economy. Close.
But the title was kind of like that. It was Built to Fail, actually.
Built to Fail.
Built
yes,
to
which
Fail.
was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a great read. And then we also, I believe the other one we read was Iowa Baseball Confederacy.
We also read, I think we read Losing the Signal, right? The Untold Story of the Blackberry.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm trying to remember the order. You're probably right.
We read a lot of books.
We did. We did 3 last year.
We did.
Matt, great track record. We usually do good things. I've got my stack of books here. Did you find it? I'll tell you, Matt, this is, I think, the 3rd or 4th summer we've done this. This has been, it gets harder for me every year because I don't discover a lot of new books. And so coming up with today's list was not easy. Did you find it easy to come up with books for today?
I found it pretty easy, actually.
Okay, well, you're a nerd, so whatever.
Threw some books on the list, and I haven't read any of them yet. So I'm looking forward to talking them over with you and seeing maybe if we can get a consensus on some books. So I found a couple that I think we'll have to talk about on this show.
Well, Matt, there's no time like the present.
Mm-hmm.
What? Can you hear my microphone stand just slowly creaking?
I can. I thought that was your cat.
No, it's this microphone stand has suddenly decided to just like not stay in place and be like super creaky.
Yeah. I thought that your cat was
There you
playing
go.
with the microphone, like the stand on the back of it.
No,
That's what it sounded like. That
No,
or ghosts.
microphone stand's the
always
problem.
chalk it up to ghosts.
No, it's just bad equipment. All right, Matt, let's go ahead. Why don't we start with one of your books? What's our first selection for this year?
Sean, this summer, as you may know, you're a big fan of the Olympics, correct?
Oh my, Matt, are you kidding me? I have got just a wee, I should say. They're in Paris this year.
You're an Olympic guy. And you know that the Olympics are being held in Paris this year. So that means I think you would delight in this book that I've selected for our first choice here. It's about the Olympic Games, the Summer Olympics of 1948. Do you know where the Olympics were held in 1948, Sean?
1948. I'm sure somewhere wonderful. My guess, Bali.
That couldn't be more wrong. The Olympics actually could not be more wrong.
Is this is this the St. Louis Olympics?
No, they were held in London. They were the London Olympics. Okay. So this was they were famous because this was the first post-war Olympics. Right after, like the last Olympics, like prior to this, I believe, were the 1936 Berlin Olympics, right at the height of Nazi Germany. So this was like the first post-war Olympics in like a post-war world society. So there is a book called "The Austerity Olympics" when the games came to London in 1948, written by Janie Hampton. The description here: London 2012 Olympics is fast approaching. Yeah. I should mention this was written in 2009. With new developments and plans causing huge excitement the world over. Yet, this multi-million-pound corporate extravaganza could not be farther from the realities of the 1948 Ration Book Olympics, which took place with a bombed-out London in ruin and Britain in deep economic crisis, etc., etc. The People's Olympics is a fascinating look at an extraordinary event which was for and by the people. Entertaining, revelatory, and hugely readable, the book is full of first-hand interviews, hilarious anecdotes, and great spirited feats. Some ratings over here. We'll go into our ratings. We have... I
mean, the lowest it has, it doesn't even have a 1 or 2 star.
It doesn't.
3 stars, the lowest. Amazing. That's impressive.
I found 1 2-star that said, not the book. Amanda said, not the book I need right now. Adding it to my try again later shelf.
Oh.
Sorry, Amanda. I hope
well, at least she's giving it a second chance.
Hope whatever you're going through passes quickly. Yeah, no, generally speaking, there haven't really been many reviews, but the not too many negative reviews, so there's that.
Where'd you hear about this book?
Honestly, I don't remember.
Because it only has 16 reviews on Amazon.
I honestly have no idea where this book came from. I was looking through my want to read on my Goodreads account, and I saw this one and I didn't remember even putting it on there. But I was like, well, the Olympics are happening this year, so this would be a good one for this summer. But I don't remember how it got onto my want to read in the first place. Remains a mystery. So there you go.
Yeah,
our first option. Mm-hmm.
I love it. The Austerity Olympics, very cool. Sounds like an interesting story. I actually reopened my Goodreads prior to today's show. Connected my Amazon account, so now there are a bunch of books on there that I threw some reviews on. I don't know if we're Goodreads friends. I hope so.
I was just gonna say, I'm currently gonna go ahead and open my friends list. I'm gonna.
I didn't. The last time I'd used my Goodreads was like 2008, so it was very far behind, for sure.
I am.
So we might not be friends. I actually don't know it.
I'm not able to
find you. And I are friends.
Oh, I think nope. You are not from Stockport. the United Kingdom, so that is a different
No,
Sean Jennings.
I should just be Sean Jennings. I'm usually Sean Jennings on all my platforms.
There are a lot of surprising Nolan. There's a lot of Sean Jennings in the United Kingdom. Oh, there you are. I found you. 53 books, 17 friends, and now 18.
All right, let's go. Let's go, and I will friend you back.
Added as friend.
That is
All right. See,
I would like
we
to do
made
that.
something happen. Um,
We'll have to make a list on Goodreads of all the books we've done on the show.
we should. Now you can see all the weird books that I'm into.
I was about to say this is cool. I like this.
Yeah, you could and you can also cheer me on while I try to complete the my book challenge. What's your book challenge?
I do not. I didn't. I don't know what that is.
You have to set a book like a reading challenge.
Oh,
Like, see, my
I
reading
didn't know
challenge
that.
is I think I'm going to read 20 books this year.
That's seems like a lot, but
Which is,
maybe not.
I think 20 in a year, I think is doable. I don't know. I never know. Well, there was one year I was way too ambitious. I think I said 30, and I was fell well short of that.
That was too much. This year, I think I've read like 2 books, and they were for the show. No, that's not true. Actually, there might be an extra. One of the books I have tonight, I read this year, and liked it. So that's why I'm going to do it. But
Mhm.
yeah, check it out. People should follow me out there on the Goodreads.
Do it.
And I'd like to thank Tit Day, who's joined us once again on the live stream on Twitch. Thanks for being here. If you have any
Hello.
book suggestions for us, please put them in the Twitch chat.
All right, so that was my
Love
first pick. Let's hear what you got. What do you got for your next pick?
So, Matt, I have 2 books I have read and 2 books I haven't read. Should we start with the known or the unknown?
When you say known, do you mean like known by you or
Yes,
or
because
like
I've read them.
you've read them?
And unknown is in I don't know what's in them because I haven't read them.
Let's start with a known. Let's start with a known. I
Okay,
think
start with
that'll
the known.
keep the viewers interested and they'll want more. Or the
Matt,
listeners.
do you like sports?
I do like sports. I've got my Eagles glass here, and I've got my
Go
Mets
Birds.
hat over here.
Go
And
Baseballs.
so I'm also wearing a Mets shirt. I've also got a
That's
picture of Goku in the back. Goku, I'm sure,
okay.
loves sports, so
He'd be great on the Mets.
I'm a fan of sports.
I don't
Mets could use
believe
Goku right now. They could use Goku. He could play any position, and they would instantly be better.
you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe we've ever done a sports book on the show before.
Okay. I think we did. Did we not read League of Shadows years back?
I pitched it. We never covered it on the show officially.
But I'd read it. But
you had read it, so I guess that kind of counts.
Okay.
The Iowa Baseball Confederacy also
Baseball,
kind of counts.
Iowa Confederacy, yeah.
Sure.
We also read was the XFL book.
Oh, sure. Okay, so we have done sports. Damn it.
And,
that was a bad intro.
Sean, we also read the AFL book. We read the football
The
for a
USFL
dollar.
books?
What's it was called? Football for a
Football
buck?
for a buck.
Yeah.
Matt, how would you like to
Sean,
read
we've
another
read
sports
we've read
book?
many sports books on this show.
And I've got one more for you, Matt.
Okay.
This is one that I have not I didn't know a ton about going in. I knew a little bit. But I thought it was pretty exciting. Matt, are you familiar with the New York Knickerbockers?
They are a team that I've heard of.
Yes, a team that has been very not good for a long time, but believe it or not, Matt, they were once pretty good.
So I've heard in legend.
And so I am picking Blood in the Garden, The Flagrant History of the 1990s New York Knicks. I read this book earlier this year and enjoyed it immensely. If you're not familiar, heading into the 1980s and early 90s, the Knicks had been terrible. They brought in Pat Riley as coach, and Patrick Ewing had one of the toughest teams, literally drew blood. Pat Riley abandoned them for the Miami Heat. Jeff Van Gundy came in, and they were suddenly really good for a minute, and then were bad again. but big personalities, a lot of things in New York, a lot of great anecdotes and stories in this one, written by the wonderful Chris Herring, who is a sports reporter for Sports Illustrated. He did a wonderful job, and I enjoyed it very much. So, Blood in the Garden is my first book pick.
Sean, I've never actually read a basketball book, like a book about, because but this kind of intrigues me. I'm kind of interested. I've always been waiting for someone to get me the novelization of Space Jam, because I would read that. But no one ever did. So that this looks like, I think this is the next best thing to the novelization of Space Jam.
They did a novelization of Space Jam?
They do novelizations of many things.
Space Jam book.
Oh yeah, right here. I found it right here on Goodreads.
But like a novel? Not like a kid's book, like an actual.
No, I mean it's the Space Jam, a novelization, January 1st, 1996, by Francine Hughes and Nancy Krulik. Jay Steimel gave it a 5-star rating and said, in 2013, I'm not entirely sure there's a serious reason to purchase this book.
Well, we're not serious people. You know, Matt, one of my picks I'm calling a wild card pick, because it's kind of a totally wacky off the beam path. Feel free if you want to add a wild card pick. Maybe we'll pick Space Jam, a novelization.
Oh, he goes on to say, Sean, I bought this book to do an impromptu surprise out loud reading at a gathering, and good times were had, because it's Space Jam with big pictures and kid story text. What's not to love?
A lot?
This got very, very good reviews, Sean.
Listen, I would not be opposed.
Reviews. All right. I think we should do this for the Patreon. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, for the Patreon.
For the Patreon, we do a read aloud of Space Jam, the novelization. Well,
you remember, Matt, that we did do a live commentary on the film Space Jam. We did that on the show. You do remember that?
Oh, of course, I do.
Yeah,
and we also Ninja Turtles. Great
That's
episode.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's right. Both of which were demolished due to copyright infringement. But we technically did it.
I didn't know that. Those shows were they were canned, huh? They go into the lost files forever.
Yep, on the Patreon.
The archive. Oh, yep, Patreons only. So, all right. That seems like a promising pick. I will. Hey, you know what? Even if we don't end up choosing it, I'm adding it to my Goodreads right now.
There you go. There you go, Matt. What do you have for us next?
Well, in a similar vein, Sean, I also picked a sports book for us. Another sports book, in addition to the two that we've already talked about. This sports book is about another New York team, which the New York Mets. You may be familiar with them.
The Amazing Mets.
The Amazins, as they call them. Yep. This is very famous book in Mets circles and Mets fan circles. I would say there are two books that are famous. There's one that's called The Year the Bad Guys Won, which is all about the 1986 team, Darryl Strawberry, Keith Hernandez, Jesse Orosco, like all the shenanigans, Doc Gooden that they were all up to, how they were like really kind of this like bunch of like kind of almost like criminals, but they were a rowdy bunch and they won lots of games and were very successful at sports. So a lot of their crimes were exonerated. This is not that book. This book is the other book that is very much talked about in Met circles, and it's called Can't Anybody Here Play This Game? The Improbable Saga of the New York Mets' First Year by Jimmy Breslin. So this is all about the 1962 New York Mets, who were introduced onto the scene in in the sportscape wherein the Giants and the Dodgers had both just left the city to go to San Francisco and LA, leaving New York with just one baseball club, the Yankees, um for about 3 or 4 years. Then the Mets came on the scene in '62, and they were terrible. They were unimaginably terrible, unconscionably terrible. They had one of the worst starts to a franchise ever, but then would eventually go on to win the 1969 World Series and become the first ever franchise team in Major League Baseball to win a World Series. So this is all about the former team, the '62 Mets, who lost 120 out of a possible 162 games that year. Breslin cast them as a lovable bunch of losers, and he argues that they were good for baseball, coming as a welcome antidote to the era of the businessman in sports, as dry and agonizing a time as you would want to see. So there you go. Let's see what the comments we have here.
Yeah, again, on Amazon, very few negative reviews, which is good, although that also usually tends to insinuate it's not popular.
Yeah. On Goodreads, I can only find I can find like I can find a couple of 2-star reviews. I'm trying to find a really hilarious one. None of them for as much low-hanging fruit as this is, I'm not finding a lot of hilarious.
No, and the problem is Amazon has good ones, but that's usually because the reviews are mostly like, received the wrong book, 1 star, or my book was missing pages, 1 star. Like that's fortunately not, but that's a very exciting sounding books. You know, I'm sure we've talked before about Secret Base and some of the great sports documentaries on YouTube about these bygone teams. I find them so interesting, so fascinating.
Yeah.
And definitely
Honestly,
worth learning more about.
The title here made me think of Secret Base. This seems like a Secret Base kind of. I don't know. The title was very Secret Base-esque. So that kind of is something that attracted me to the book. Okay, I found a good comment. Phil said in August of 2015, my copy of this book is signed by the author, Jimmy Breslin, who wrote on the cover page, "Why root for the Yankees? Anybody can do that." And that pretty much sums it up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. Excellent. Good selection. I will continue on here. Next up, Matt, you know what goes really great with sports?
If you're a Mets fan, lots and lots of alcohol.
Well, wouldn't you know it? You got it right, Matt. Beer was the correct answer. That's right, beer.
That's right. There's one thing Mets fandom has taught me. Yeah.
Did you know? Here's a trivia question for you. What is the only beer company to have actually once owned a baseball team?
Sean, I haven't the faint. I'm gonna just guess. Is it Coors? Did they own the Colorado Rockies?
No, but who plays in Busch Stadium?
That would be the St. Louis Cardinals, Sean.
That's right. Once owned by Anheuser-Busch.
Matt,
my good pick is Bitter Brew, the rise and fall of Anheuser-Busch and America's Kings of Beer. It's so funny. I bought this book. My Amazon probably tells me. I bought this back in 2017. Read like not even a quarter of it. Had to put it away for some reason, and just revisited it last year. And it's a shame it took that long because it's a fantastic read. It tells the story of the Anheuser-Busch going all the way back to the very first Adolphus, who founded the brewery, through Prohibition, through the growing of the beer industry, the change, how there used to be 10,000 breweries in America that greatly fell, through the different generations of the Busch family who owned Anheuser-Busch and passed it down son to son until it eventually collapsed and was sold to Belgian super company InBev. It's not only a great family saga, But there's also a lot of cool information in here I did not know about the history of beer.
Such
Um,
as.
I already forgot them because I read this a year ago, but I know it was. I mean, I can just go to a random page here, but it does talk about prohibition, and it does talk. There's a great story I remember in here about one of the revolutionary things that Budweiser did was they were kind of getting their asses kicked by Schlitz and some of those other brands back in the late '60s, early '70s, and they decided that sports was going to be the answer. So they literally set up a call center and over the span of a week called every single stadium, conference, league, team they could get their hands on and bought every sponsorship that was available. Just doling out as much money as they could because they thought it was that important, and that's why they became such a major sponsor of sports. Other beer companies didn't do that. So a lot of really cool and interesting things in here. And it's a pretty simple read, so it goes quick.
Okay. Let's see what Goodreads has to say about it.
Well, I'll tell you, Linda on Amazon says, didn't care for this book at all. It was a, quote, bitter brew, end quote, to me. Disappointed to spend my money on trash.
What was the book called again? Brew?
Bitter Brew.
Bitter Brew, okay. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, overall, yeah, it's got a 4, like 4.4. It's a decent score.
I mean, I could say Chuck here on Amazon gave it 2 stars. An enjoyable read, but filled with material that reads like People magazine. However, was surprised to learn that Harry Carey was fired by the Cardinals due to an affair with a much younger Bush wife. Cardinals loss, Cubs gain. Thanks, Chuck.
Nice. I didn't know that either. See that? Okay, this book is chock full of a
lot of Cardinals history as well. They own the team almost from the beginning. But the company actually owned it, which was pretty interesting, not very common.
Will Alameda in January 2018 gave this book 2 stars and said, "Reading will help me to avoid mistakes which I don't want to repeat."
I mean, I guess if you're going to start a beer company, you could learn something from reading this book. I can't argue with that.
It's very ominous. The 2 stars, though. Yeah. That's what Will said.
Odd.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Well, that's my book. Matt, you got a pick for us?
I kind of want to read Will Alameda's book. Whenever that's coming out.
She's made a lot of mistakes.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Okay. So moving on from sports and from our beer, Sean, there is a key figure in both of our lives.
Jesus Christ.
Well, no, but close. You're very, very close.
Okay.
Because this key figure, I would say, kind of entered our lives around the same time. Became very, very widely known in our house when we lived together back in college.
Is it Jason Derulo?
No, but you were closer with Jesus Christ.
Okay.
He's Chinese.
Dennis Murray?
Martial arts. And was in the Rush Hour films.
Steven Seagal.
Jackie Chan. That's right.
Oh.
So Jackie Chan came up. Jackie Chan came up with a biography. He wrote a biography back in 2016. He wrote a memoir, and his memoir is called "Never Grow Up" by Jackie Chan. I've been meaning to read this book for a long time. It has been sitting in my shelf, my want to read books for a long time. Everyone knows Jackie Chan. Whether it's from Rush Hour, Shanghai Noon, The Karate Kid, or Kung Fu Panda, Jackie is admired by generations of moviegoers for his acrobatic fighting style, comedic timing, and mind-bending stunts. In 2016, after 56 years in the industry, over 200 films, and many broken bones, Jackie received an honorary Academy Award for his lifetime achievement in film. But at 64 years old, Jackie is just getting started. In Never Grow Up, the global superstar reflects on his early life, including his childhood years at the China Drama Academy, his big breaks and setbacks in Hong Kong and Hollywood, and his numerous brushes with death, both on and off the film sets, and his life as a husband and a father, which he has admitted, regrettably, have been imperfect. Jackie has never shied away from his mistakes. Since The Young Master debuted in 1980, Jackie's films have ended with blooper reels in which he stumbles over his lines, misses his mark, or crashes to the ground in a stunt gone south. In Never Grow Up, Jackie applies the same spirit of openness to his life, proving time and time again why he's beloved the world over. He's honest, he's funny, he's kind, he's brave, beyond all reckoning. And after all this time, he is still young at heart.
Matt, I am almost 100% confident you pitched this on a past book club, which is fine.
Would not surprise me. At all.
But it tells me you really want to read it.
It's up there. It's up there. I don't know. I may be giving this a look this summer, hopefully.
Well, Shell on Amazon gave it 3 stars and said, I have mixed feelings about this book. It reads easily and quickly, but it's not particularly well written. Or maybe it was well written in Cantonese, but the translation is missing something. I don't think it was written in Cantonese and then translated. I got to be honest with you.
I don't think so. I doubt that.
No, that's great. I have to be honest with you, man. I don't know much about Jackie Chan, and I've seen a Jackie Chan movie.
Brittany McCann says that I've always been a huge Jackie Chan fan, so when I saw this, I got really excited. Unfortunately, I guess I really didn't know much about Jackie behind the scenes, and I probably never should have read this book. My love for Jackie has now waned.
Uh-oh. Stop.
Do I still like Jackie Chan after reading this book? Yes. Is he still one of my favorite people? No. Now I gotta know. I gotta know.
Did you know that Jackie Chan voiced the Beast in the Mandarin dub of the animated film Beauty and the Beast?
I did not know that. I did not know there was a Mandarin dub, but
yeah,
it doesn't surprise me. Yeah, there has to be. That's because he is a beast.
I am looking through the entire filmography of Jackie Chan to see if I've seen a Jackie Chan movie. And I'm not counting his voice in anything, simply him being in the movie. I think I've seen 2. But unfortunately, they're the Karate Kid remake and everyone's famous film, The Tuxedo. So I would love to learn more about Jackie Chan.
Okay. Well, we could possibly we could pencil that in, perhaps.
Never Grow Up. Good one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matt. Let's see. How are we doing on time here? We're doing good. All right. Do you want an interesting book or a crazy book?
Give me with the crazy book.
Matt, this is my wild card, all right? I have not read this book. I just think it would be interesting for you and I to read. Matt, what were you doing in 1994?
Attending preschool.
Well, like most Americans, I'm sure you were caught in rapt attention at your TV screen following the trial of the murder of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson.
Absolutely.
Well, though O.J. Simpson was not convicted of the murder in a criminal court, he was later convicted in a civil court. And in 2007, he published a book called If I Did It. A hypothetical confession of if he had been the killer, what he would have done. That book was actually then turned over in the bankruptcy case due to the civil trial with the Goldman and Brown Simpson families, and then re-released by the Goldman family, including a prologue, an epilogue, and other things, talking about the case and why O.J. Simpson was the one who actually did it. Matt, I am pitching we read If I Did It, Confessions of the Killer.
Already added.
I just
Actually, in a bizarre twist, Sean, I think this was already in my want to read books.
That wouldn't surprise me in the
Mhm.
slightest. Yeah, this is always everyone I've read about it is apparently it's like legitimately insane.
I
And
think
so I'm just
the best part to me is the cover that just says "I did it" in big letters,
oh
and
yeah, because the if is
really
really
small.
really small.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
Was that I could have made this up, but was that at least was that rumored to be like something he had to do as part of a settlement or something? Like,
No, so when the Goldman family got the rights to the book, the
yeah,
original
that's what it was.
OJ book, it was all the same size, and that was their sort of thing at Simpson of like, he saying basically he did it.
Yeah. Oh, this could be interesting. Okay.
I'm not going to read any negative reviews because I looked at them briefly and they're insane. So
Did
you're
you
just going to have to take my word for it that some people don't like it.
follow the author?
OJ Simpson, he does get credit, although it says very bold on the Amazon page. All author royalties from the sale of this book are awarded to the Goldman family.
Nathan Rubin says, spoiler alert, he did it.
Damn it. Well, now we don't have to read it. What a waste.
Yeah, that wasn't even a spoiler cover. He didn't even cover that up. That was just out there in the open.
Come on, man. You got to be
Wow.
better.
Okay, this is
So
it's looking interesting so far.
if I did it, bit of a wild card there. All right, Matt, you got another book?
Okay, I do. I have a few more, but I think I'm gonna. Okay. Do you
Give us
want
one
to
more. What's your best here?
I'm gonna go with my best. I'm gonna go with my best here. Let's do this one. This is a book I've also had on my to reads for a bit. This is a novel because I don't think we've had a novel yet. Fiction.
No.
It is a new book. It was relatively new. Came out in 2022. It is called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, written by Gabrielle Zevin or Zevin. And the theme here is, on a bitter cold day in the December of his junior year at Harvard, Sam Mauser exits a subway car and sees, amid the hordes of people waiting on the platform, Sadie Green. He calls her name. For a moment, she pretends she hasn't heard him, but then she turns and a game begins, a legendary collaboration that will launch them to stardom. These friends, intimate since childhood, borrow money, beg favors, and before even graduating college, they have created their first blockbuster, Ichigo. Overnight, the world is theirs. Not even 25 years old, Sam and Sadie are brilliant, successful, and rich. But these qualities won't protect them from their own creative ambitions or the betrayals of their hearts. Spanning 30 years from Cambridge, Mass. To Venice Beach, California, and lands in between and far beyond, Gabrielle Zevin's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a dazzling and intricately imagined novel that examines the multifarious natures of identity, disability, failure, the redemptive possibilities of play, and above all, our need to connect, to be loved, and to love. Yes, it is a love story, but it is not one you have read before.
Right.
Yeah. This is another one that I picked this up in a bookstore. It was like on one of the shelves, and I thought the cover art was very neat. And then somebody that same week recommended it to me, so I was like, this is kind of meant to be. I don't know. So I'm thinking this could be a good one to talk about. I don't know. It could be a good one to talk about because this one is really, I think, very much a hit or miss. I think it's like Of Dice and Men. When we read that, we were expecting it to be one thing, and it turned out to be something completely different. And you can see the reviews kind of reflect that. You've got it's really mostly on Goodreads. It's 5-star or 1. You either really like this book or you really hated it. It's kind of cool.
Well, I will say, Matt, historically, the past couple of years, I've tried really hard to pick your suggestions based on like what's a book I would never pick for myself. Like what's a book I wouldn't normally read. And Wind Up Bird Chronicle was that, which was great. The Iowa Baseball Confederacy was that, which I enjoyed. This is definitely a book I wouldn't read, just kind of choosing it on my own. It's not up my alley. But that could mean I might really like it. You tend to have a good nose for that sort of thing. Hopefully our experience will be like Amazon customer who wrote, unfortunately, Amazon removed the first review I posted, which I find unfair. Potential buyers should be warned that this book pushes a political/social agenda. The writing is simplistic, the characters are unlikable, and the programming storyline is unrealistic. I really don't understand how this book became so popular. Censoring negative reviews probably helps. 1 star.
Wow. Axes to grind. Right there.
And Just a Mom says the entire book is propaganda for the author's political views. I was pretty disgusted by the dismissal of sexual abuse and cyber stalking. Terrible book. Not sure how it got rave reviews.
Could be a lot to talk about on that one. Can I tell you what my other book was going to be? Which I think this would probably be better if we save it for spooky season.
Sure.
Have you ever seen the movie The Ritual on Netflix? Like a Norwegian kind of horror movie. Well, it's based on a book called The Ritual, and if you've seen the movie, it's about like basically it's kind of like found footage kind of things and summoning like giant monsters in the woods basically. But I thought the book version was very well received. But then there was also a potential runner-up that I think you might have actually been the one that pitched this to me, which is why I didn't suggest this. Either that or it's a book that you would really like and should read for yourself. It's called. Now I'm just can't find it.
Such suspense.
It is about the show The Wire.
Yes.
It is basically like the
companion book, or
yeah, it's kind of like a companion book, but oh my goodness. Oh, Ready Player One just popped up. That's definitely not the right
hey, listen, we can do Ready Player 2 if you want.
Hey.
No.
Yeah. How about that?
No.
Has enough time passed for
that wouldn't even make the Patreon, Matt. You couldn't even pay me to read that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. The book is escaping me here.
Well, while you're looking that up, in the interest of time, I'm going to pepper through a couple quickly.
Oh, I found
and
it.
then we can get to
it, Sean.
Oh, yes. What was it?
It's called All the Pieces Matter: The Inside Story of The Wire. Did you recommend that book to me?
I did not. I've never seen The Wire.
Okay. That we might do that as a segment then. Maybe we could do a watch along. Speaking of watch alongs, how's your DBZ watch along coming?
Never heard of it. The remaining on my bookshelf for tonight, I asked, because right after this, I'm taping Don't Panic. If you're watching us live at about 10 past the top of the hour, head on over to twitch.tv/Don't Panic Show, and you can watch us live there.
What, they get a Twitch channel too, Sean? I thought I was special.
We've had one longer than ours.
I thought I was special.
The Don't Panic Twitch channel's been around for like 7 years. What are you talking about? However, we still have more viewers on the After Debate one, so because Matt has friends.
There you go.
I asked the host, so do you guys have any book recommendations for us? And Dan said you could go in a completely different direction and read like a self-help book or something. I thought that's a really good idea. We haven't done that. So I looked around and I didn't go too crazy because there's a lot of really wild self-help books. I picked maybe the most famous business book, or at least top 3 business books ever done, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. This is business school 101 stuff. Anyone in the CEO slot has probably read this. The 7 habits include being proactive, putting first things first, synergize, sharpen the saw, classic principles, for solving both personal and professional problems. This book has sold over 40 million copies and was listed as the #1 most influential business book of the 20th century. Yeah, I was seeing if you and I could read it and see how we apply it to our business and professional lives.
I've heard of this book. This is indeed, a very, very famous book. A lot of people have read it. Now I'm going to see what people on the Goodreads say about it. They say, Stephen wrote a very imaginative review. Well, so first off, I really have to describe this one to do it justice, okay? He put the word disclaimer at the top in like a shimmering red stylistic GIF. Where it makes it look like a word from the 1990s internet. That's the only way I can kind of describe it. It's like it got like the shimmer, but it's like the font itself is like a very basic Arial font, like what you would find on like an Angel Fire website back in like the early 2000s. And he says, I would like to make it clear that David Hasselhoff's appearance in this review should in no way be deemed to imply that I endorse or support his career in any way whatsoever. Thank you for your understanding. So right away I'm hooked because David Hasselhoff pops in. And then he gives a wildly long review in which he rewrites these habits. Instead of the 7 habits, he changes them to embrace technology and medical science to become the best you can be. Example, Iron Man. And he has a picture of Iron Man and Captain America. Be bold, be daring, and deliver to the marketplace the next big thing. Steve Jobs, Ben and Jerry, and the CIA.
Oh my God, say it isn't so.
Don't be afraid to use force to accomplish your goal. And in this section, he has photos of Darth Vader, Yoda, and Vladimir Putin. And then number 4 is just simply get in good with the Germans. And then he's got a picture of a very sexy looking David Hasselhoff. And then number 5, be proactive in dealing with the competition. And then there's just a picture of Walmart and Tony Montana and Joseph Stalin. And then it says the end. Yeah. So again, I find this book would be this would be a good book. We probably have a lot to talk about. Nora says I read only the first 20 pages of this book, and that was enough to make me want to gouge out my own eyeballs. It is so repetitive that the author just gives all these ridiculous yet impossible analogies that you're supposed to relate to or learn something from. He goes on for pages and pages about himself, his job, his wife, and his kids. Totally unnecessary. It's all really just common sense stuff that you already know, but preached at you over the course of pages and pages of utter nonsense. For example, Covey writes that if you're not nice to your coworkers, you won't get very far in your career. I know, groundbreaking stuff, right?
Well, I should point out for the record, by the way, I don't like business books traditionally. I just thought this could be interesting. I'm going to mention one last thing before we get to making our picks, because Kit Day very kindly in our chat suggested a book. It's called The Raw Shark Texts, a novel by Stephen Hall, a thriller novel, a genre-founding work of fiction. Sounds interesting. So we're not going to have time to dig too much into it right now, but I promise we'll definitely keep it in the mix for the future.
I think we might want to check this one out.
You want to make this our 3rd book for the summer?
I think we might want to make this a 3rd. Yeah, this is
I'd be down for that.
This is looking really you never read House of Leaves, have you? I think that was way back on like the first time we did this, but
yes, but I never
kind of reminds me of that in a way.
Yeah, I'm totally down. We'll make it book number 3. Thanks for the suggestion. The Raw Shark Text. Now, Matt,
nice.
Is it time to show where we have to choose? And you're going to get to go first here, Matt. Which of my suggestions tonight are you most excited and want to read this summer?
Oh
for
man,
our
Sean,
book club.
you really,
Again,
you
Bitter
really gave
Brew,
me.
Blood in the Garden, OJ's If I Did It, and the 7 successful habits of good business people, whatever.
Ugh, Sean, you gave me quite
I
a
know.
smorgasbord of options here. Um, but how am I supposed to turn away OJ?
Easily.
I mean, the man is just a charisma magnet, especially since you know how much I love the Naked Gun series.
You were a big
Great
Buffalo
movies,
Bills fan. I know.
great movies. The Juice. Uh, for me, it's or I think I'm gonna end up reading Blood in the Garden on my own, and I'll probably read that Anheuser-Busch book as well. I think we might get the most mileage from the OJ book. Controversy, brings listeners is what they say, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the one I'm going to lock in. I'm going to say the OJ. If I Did It.
Wow.
That's our summer reading book.
A
God have
shocking
mercy on my
twist.
soul. Yes,
If I
that's
Did
what
It,
we're
of
doing.
course, Matt picks the joke book. I wasn't being serious about, but that's okay. That's fine. I honestly,
Hey,
my
you know
biggest
what?
fear, Matt, is that it's just not going to be very good. That's my fears that turns out OJ can't write a good book. But I'm excited to find out with you. If I Did It's on the list, along with our chat suggestion of the raw shark texts. It's my turn, Matt. You gave me a great list of books to choose from. I'm trying to think. I'm a little bit torn. Austerity Olympics and Can't Anybody Here Play This Game are probably books I will read outside of the show because they are both in my lane. Uh, we've never done a biography, I don't think. And so I wonder if that'll be interesting or not. But I kind of want it, since you went all the way to If I Did It, I'm really tempted to go with Gasp, the novelization of Space Jam.
Was that was that an
You,
option?
yeah, you brought it up.
Did I bring it up? I thought that was going to be for our patrons.
Why can't I pick it?
No, you could pick it. You could pick it.
Um,
You could pick it. I think that'd be a great one, actually. I thought we were going to do a dramatic reading of it for our patrons.
oh, that might take a while.
Yeah, let me pitch that. Can I pitch that to you? Can we, for Space Jam, the novelization, could we read that aloud with all the voices? We'll do our best impressions of the Looney Tunes cast for our Twitch fans. As,
All right, I'm getting
some bonus content. What do you think?
Yeah, Colby Rabidou in the chat says Space Jam. Come on. All right. I'm trying to have fun here. He gets to pick OJ's If I Did It, and I'm getting crap.
That was your suggestion. That was your
big
pick.
mistake on my
part.
part.
I
All
just
right.
verified it. I
Here
just
we
gave
go,
you,
Matt. Not the most
gave you the
exciting
word.
pick in the world, but I want to talk about the Mets. We're going to go with Can't Anybody Here Play This Game. I'm excited to read it.
Play this game.
I think it's going to be great. So those are our 3 books this summer. If I Did It, Can't Anybody Here Play This Game, as well as the raw shark texts. Should be great. So I'm going to go fill my Amazon cart right now. Matt, I'm very excited. We will have an episode at the end of the summer talking about these 3 books and what we thought of each of them. So folks, go out there, place an order, visit your local library, and check it out. But we got to wrap it up here because we're out of time. Summer's chugging ahead. We appreciate everyone being here, including everyone live on twitch.tv/UpForDebateTV. Make sure you follow us there to get alerted when we go live. Of course, the recorded version's on our website, UpForDebate.tv, or anywhere you get podcasts. You want that purple icon. And, of course, the video version is on YouTube. You can see our wonderful faces. You can get a hold of us, UpForDebateTV@gmail.com, where you can email, tell us how wrong we were in our selections. But that's going to do it for us here. So on behalf of Matt, I'm Sean. We appreciate you guys being here. We're going to see you next time for another well-read edition of Up for Debate.